Okay, Sir Ronald Llamas, yung isa sa mga pinaka-reputable survey agencies ng bayan, alright, itong Publicus, parang small letter pa yung isang letter, tapos capital yung iba, alright, ay pinakita na hindi na si Erwin Tulfo, hindi na si Tito Boy Soto, ang number one favorite to top the Senate race in 2025, almost a year from now, is former President Rodrigo Duterte. What I found interesting with this survey is that President Duterte only gets below 50% preference rate and his trust ratings are barely above 50%. So even by the standards of this survey, he's way below the 80-90% that he supposedly enjoyed when he was a politician. What do you make out of this survey, Sir Ronald Llamas? Before we go to the implications of whether he's going to run for the Senate. Of course, that's not going to give him immunity for ICC, but that could be a bridgehead for him to fight back against BBM and protect his daughter. Mamaya na yan. Pero dito muna tayo sa first part. Anong basa mo muna dito sa survey na yan?
Well, tama yung sinabi mo, Big R, no? Na cup half full, half empty yan eh. Yung half empty, yung binanggit mo, na kung ikukumpara doon sa kanyang traditional survey results when he was a president, medyo malayo yan. Tapos yan, senador pa. No? Hindi pa yan presidente. So, halos nahati, nawala yung 40% nung kanyang traditional approval at saka popularity rating. No? Yun yung isa. Ikalawa ay very reputable yung survey firm na yan. No? Diyan yata, ang tayo yata niyan, isa yata sa nagtayo niyan, si paborito mong political analyst, si Malutikia. No? Si Malutikia, no? na hindi naman tinatago na siya ay Duterte loyalist at this point. No? At this point, dahil nagbago yata siya ng loyalty nito mga nakaraang mga taon.
Diba Lenny to da? Diba ito yung chinelas ni Lenny dati? Ano ba talaga nangyari?
Kaya
ito yung the sun is rising again, yung mga ganyan nung last elections.
Kaya nga at this point, no, ang loyalty niya kay Duterte, no? Kaya baka mabawasan yung credibility ng survey firm na yan, no? Kung yung nagtayo niyan o isa sa mga nagtayo at nagpatakbo ay loyalist ng Duterte ngayon, no? Pero pagbigyan na natin, no? Pagbigyan na natin na ang tawag mo disreputable, reputable. No, reputable, no. Pagbigyan na natin na reputable yung survey firm na yan, no? Pero katulad nga ng sinabi mo, medyo malayo pa rin dun sa traditional high ni Digong, no? Yung survey firm na yan, no? Sana naman yung survey firm na yan ay madagdagan yung credibility as we near the midterm election, no? As we papalapit tayo, no? Kaya I would take with a grain or with a pound of salt yung survey na yan at this point, no? At this point, no?
Abang hindi pa tumaas ang presyo ng salt kasi medyo mataas pa rin ang presyo ng mga bilihin. So let's go to the next part. So obviously, first of all, do you think that Duterte is really gonna run for the Senate, or is he just dangling it as a way to say I'm not completely irrelevant? And then let's go to the next part. Assuming he will run for Senate, then what's the next step for him?
Well, before kasi pinag-uusapan saan ba siya politically mas viable tumakbo? Congress sa Davao or senator sa midterm, no? Ang tingin ko, kung gusto niyang i-rally yung kanyang natitirang mga loyalists, yung kanyang natitirang mga DDS, yung natitira niyang mga troops, no, ay kinakailangan niya mag-scale up. At pwede siyang mag-scale up as a mass leader, pero parang hindi naman bagay sa kanya ang mass leader, no? So baka mag-scale up siya as a senator, no? That's a very distinct possibility, no? Dahil hindi lang niya i-rally yung troops, kung hindi pwede niyang batakin yung mga member ng PDP laban na medyo nasa bingit, katulad ni Bato de la Rosa, katulad ni Francis Tolentino, or kung sino pa yung isasama nila sa slate dun sa new opposition sa midterm. So pwede siyang makatulong para batakin yan. Yung kanyang political capital, pwede niyang ipahiram sa iba, no? dahil parang hindi masyadong nagagamit ng kanyang daughter, yung kanyang political capital. Parang hindi na ita-transfer ng maayos. At
But,
least hindi.
but yun nga eh, but the transferability of charisma is something Max Weber has been debating over. I mean, the daughter, well, his name's Duterte, and she tried to
Yeah.
put up the performance, yung sapak-sapak ng mga fiscal, ganyan.
Hmm.
Pero transferable ba yan dun sa mga iba? I mean, does the Bongo and Bato success in the 2019 elections tell you that it's transferable? I mean, what is your read on that?
Well, to some extent, transferable. Halimbawa kay Bongo. At this point, hindi ko sigurado kay Bato at saka kay Francis Tolentino. No? Si Bongo kasi halos mas malapit pa sa kanya kaysa sa mga anak niya. Diba? Both literally and spiritually. No? Talagang yun yung kanyang parang tunay na anak. No?
Kinabahan ako
Kaya
bigla. Like, was it? Wait, where's this conversation going?
kaya medyo at least kay Bongo medyo na transfer, no? Lalo na photo bomber, kahit saan pumunta si Digong nandun eh, no? Kaya na-equate sa kanya. Pero siyempre iba yung mga tipo ni Francis Tolentino, ni Bato, etc. Pero kahit papaano nakatulong. This midterm election baka mahirapan, no? Dahil sabi mo nga bumaba rin naman talaga yung kanyang approval at saka popularity rating. So what remains ay baka hindi ganun kadali na mai-transfer, no? I'm almost sure magbubuo sila ng slate. Magbubuo sila ng slate para sa midterm. Kaya yung mga iba diyan na mahihina ay at least yung attempt sa kanyang possible na pagtakbo ay para hatakin. Whether mahahatak niya o hindi is another thing. Dahil nga medyo hindi na ganun kataas yung kanyang popularity at saka approval rating. No? At tingin ko patuloy na bababa yan habang dumidistansya yung kanyang Punisher image, yung kanyang President Duterte image dito sa parating na midterm.
I mean, he doesn't look as strong as and decisive as in 2016, no? I mean, and let's not forget 2019, the whole machinery of the state, right, was behind these certain candidates we mentioned. That's not going to be the case come 2025. It's going to be the other way around. The machinery of the state will be.
Yes. At yung highest niya Richard was December 2020. Yung Pulse Asia survey na nag 91% siya.
Yeah. Na 3%
Yun yung
lang daw ayos sa kanya. 'Di ba naalala mo parang inasar-asal pa niya yung mga sabi niya doon sa isang zona niya. I think that's the second to last sabi niya. Balita ko 3% lang ayos sa atin tapos pinagtawanan. Eh ngayon
dahil
sa
may margin of
50%
error
na hindi
daw.
siya prefer bilang senador. This is based
May
on
margin
diba?
error
So
daw.
that tells you a lot about, that he
Yes,
doesn't have the
dahil
same power as
Yes,
before.
dahil alam mo naman na Big R, ang mahalaga sa mga surveys ay hindi yung absolute numbers, no? Sasabihin mo ay siya yung pinakamataas. Tapos ang pinakamahalaga is the movement of numbers. Saan ba siya nanggaling? Saan ba siya nagsimula? At nasa na ba siya ngayon? Kung halimbawa nagsimula siya sa 91,
Trajectory.
ngayon ay 50, 51, medyo significant 'yon, no? Kahit siya yung number one dito sa very reputable na survey firm, no? Oo.
Sir
Kaya
Ronald, wait lang, medyo magmarites tayo ng konti. Digression lang. Speaking of pro Duterte people who won in the 2019 election, of course, one of them, was not able to do it in 2016, but he just acted out in 2019. And this is the former political advisor of President Duterte and the current triple MA Senator Francis Tolentino. He resigned recently from the Blue Ribbon Commission. Ano pasa mo doon? Because some people are reading a lot into it. Obviously, he's not doing good in the surveys. Obviously, he's changing tone and biglang pro-West Philippines and all of that concerning he was the political advisor of Digong. Anong sinasabi niya when Digong was selling out our country by some, if from some certain perspective. Like, what's going on? What's this drama with Francis Tolentino?
well, una parang meron namang kasunduan. Parang may term na hatian sa Blue Ribbon. At mukhang tapos na yung kanyang term batay do sa kasunduan na yon. So ipapasa na yan malamang sa iba, no? Sa iba. Yun yung isang marites diyan. Ikalawa ay marami sa humawak ng Blue Ribbon ay hindi nagamit yung Blue Ribbon to win, no? Halimbawa si TG Gingona, no? Head siya ng Blue Ribbon for several years, pero natalo siya nung tumakbo siya. Si Senator Gordon, no? Matagal din siyang Blue Ribbon, hindi rin niya nagamit. So, hindi assurance yung Blue Ribbon na ikaw ay mananalo, no? Lalo na sa magiging re-electionist ka. At ikatlo, mukhang gusto niya mag-focus doon sa kanyang bagong committee, yung Maritime Committee ng Senate. Dahil ang tingin niya ay
West
more than
Philippine Sea.
90% ng botante, ng populasyon ay critical sa China. Critical sa aggression ng China na nag-i-scaling up at this point, no? So baka doon niya gusto mag-focus rather than Blue Ribbon. Baka mas nakikita niya na yung kanyang saging fortunes sa mga survey ay yun ang makakasalba, no? Yun yung makakasalba. Posible, no? Kung magiging center point yung usapin ng South China Sea this election. Paano in the previous election hindi masyado eh. Posible magbabago yan at magiging election issue itong South China Sea, itong West Philippine Sea, itong Chinese aggression. Baka yun yung kanyang calculation. Dahil hindi niya magamit yung Blue Ribbon para tumaas yung kanyang ratings. Baka sakaling nagsishift siya dito sa bagong committee na tinayo ng Senado na pinamumunuan niya yung maritime. Pero baka maging vulnerable siya dahil baka banatan siya na anong ginawa mo nung 6 years na nandun ka sa Duterte government.
At ang trabaho mo parang trabaho ni Ronald Llamas. You cannot be the political advisor and distance from what the president thinks. Di ba? I mean, magkatrabaho kayo, political advisor kayo, di ba? No, I mean, for me, obviously the Blue Ribbon Commission thing, it makes sense if the president is unpopular, there are big scandals, you oversee investigation, medyo pwede kang magpapogi, but that's impossible when the president is fresh and still popular, like BBM. I mean, we're not as fans of BBM, but that's the political reality. And you're absolutely correct. If there's a place to score points, that's the West Philippine Sea, but you have to have credibility. You have to have authenticity. You have to be someone who actually stood up for West Philippine Sea when the president of the republic was standing for China. Right? So this is 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, not this year lang, di ba? So hindi naman full. I mean, you have to respect also the voters. You have to also respect, the opinion makers and all. They track people. They know yung evolution of ideas mo. Whether this is a reflection of Keynesian, well, sir, the facts have changed. So that's my opinion. Or whether this is part of, well, kailangan kong mag-change doon kasi kailangan natin manalo next year. Medyo alanganin sila, di ba? I mean, I think Bongo still has a good chance of making it to the Senate next year. Medyo
si Bato nasa bingit, no?
Yeah, medyo alanganin sila eh. So it's not as
pero baka ang tingin kasi nitong mga senador na ito na nanahimik for 6 years habang yung kanilang boss ay naging malinaw na pro-China, no? Nanahimik sila. Baka ang tingin nila in our postmodern world, in our social media centric world, pag nagsuot ka ng t-shirt sa FIBA Games, ay makakalimutan na yung pagiging pro-China, no? Kaya yun, baka ina-underestimate mo kasi yung ating postmodern social media.
Hindi naman. I mean, nanalo naman si PBM.
Masyado kang Weberian Masyado kang Weberian, no?
Modernist masyado. Hindi naman, I mean, naniwala naman ako parati sa
masyado kang Bigar, masyado kang modernist Baka tingin itong mga senador na ito madaling kalimutan yung nilang 6 na taon na pagiging pro-China.
Yan talaga.
T-shirt na may nakalagay na West Philippine Sea.
West Philippine Sea. Tapos fitted pa, no? Laking muscle. Muscle. Parang gusto natin yan, Ronald. May mga ganun tayong mga kuladong, diba?
Oh.
For me kasi, Ronald, dapat may cake ka rin. I mean, anyone can make a comment on West Philippine Sea and I welcome everyone to make a comment. But iba pa rin kung galing ito sa isang tao na established sa ganitong field, sa foreign policy, when Justice Carpio says it, it's very different from some, pro-Duterte person biglang being pro-West Philippine Sea. Malaking agwat yan, di ba? The level of respectability.
Definitely.
Yeah. Authenticity matters kasi even if it's contrived in many cases. But let's go back to Digong. Let's say Digong runs. Obviously, I mean, Digong is known for a very, high level of work ethic. We expect him to be there all the time, 24/7. Now, obviously, we know he's gonna just, sit down there and wait to be elected. Let's say Digong just chilled in Davao and was elected top 3 senators, if not number 1. Let's say natalo niya si Erwin Tulfo, right? And it matters to be the top senator. What do you think would happen next if Digong is in the Senate? Do you think he can effectively mobilize that seat to be a breachhead
Well, yung
beachhead
well,
against the BBM administration?
well, kung nasa top 3 siya sa Senate sa midterms, no? It's a big if, no? Gagamitin niya yung entablado na yan para ikampanya yung kanyang anak na siguradong tatakbo sa 2028, no? Yun yung magiging role niya. Dahil si Bongo, si Bato, hindi magaling na mga kampanyador eh. 'Di ba? Kung yan yung mga magsusuporta sa kanyang anak, hindi magiging efficient. Lalo na si Bongo ay hindi naman ganoon ka-close sa kanyang anak, no? Hindi ganoon ka-close. At tingin ko isa nga yan sa dahilan kung bakit hindi tumakbo si Sara as president, as planned nung kanyang tatay, at si Bongo yung vice president niya dahil ayaw niya kay Bongo. No, kaya hindi makakatulong yung mga kakampi ng PDP laban sa Senado para ikampanya si Sara Duterte sa 2028. Mas yung role na yan baka nandun sa presidente or ex-president Digong. Pero ang laking if niyan eh, no? Hindi lang malaking if, solid IF. Dahil ang assumption ay hindi siya kukunin ng ICC next year, no? Kung siya ay kukunin ng ICC next year, hindi na siya aabot sa midterms, no? Hindi na siya aabot sa, kaya tingin ko mas yung mga survey na yan, yung projection ng Senate, kwan lang yan eh, drama lang yan eh. Mas ang focus ni Digong at this point is survival, no? Existence niya within the next few months, not in the next year, not in the next 2 years, in the next few months. Yan yung kanyang focus, yan
Medyo
yung kanyang
survival mode na ito, no?
Yes, yes. At ano yung kanyang magiging atake sa presidente na sinabi nga ni ex-human rights lawyer Harry Roque ay the buck stops with him. Siya na talaga ang nagtutulak nitong ICC issue na ito. Kaya very dramatic itong magiging next few months natin, Big R, no? Sabi mo nga, civil war.
Or maybe not, or maybe not. Maybe BBM, BBM is thinking, BBM, weekend, chill, holidays. I'm sure BBM is already looking at his calendar of ano mga foreign visits natin dyan in the first 3 months. May Europe na naman ba tayo? Kailangan natin ng Europe, to start the year fresh, di ba? Kasi this year nasimulan niya sa China eh.
Kaya mahalaga yung sabi mo eh. Ano ba yung nangyari this year? No? Dahil halimbawa nagsimula yung taon January 6, state visit sa China. At nagpromisa yung China ng $22 billion in investment sa Pilipinas, no? Buti na lang hindi naniwala si BBM do sa $22 billion.
OG yan, OG mga Marcos.
Marami ron mga rehash eh doon sa kanilang promisa kay Digong na hindi rin nila na-deliver.
Repackage yan. Repackage.
Hindi na
Yung mga hindi nga bigay kay Digong, lagay nyo ng green, sustainable AI. Yun na yun.
Pero tingin ko defining yan eh dahil halos 90 billion na yung mga alleged MOU na na-raise ni President Bongbong sa kanyang monthly trips abroad, no? Kung hindi pumasok at least 20% niyan next year, medyo delikado yung image ni President Bongbong Marcos. Dahil this year halos wala pang pumapasok eh. Lumalabas pa, no? More than 30% ng ating foreign direct investment lumabas. So dapat at least a significant part niyan, o kahit hindi significant, kahit 15 to 20% pumasok next year, medyo maganda yung magiging delivery. Pero kung hindi papasok, yan yung gagamitin ng mga Dutrete. Yan ang gagamitin ng mga Arroyo para banatan siya, no? Kaya yung tanong mo, ano ba yung significant dito sa taong ito? Itong usapin ng mga MOU na at this point umaabot na ng 90 billion. Dapat yung MOU na yan, kung mukhang hindi na ma-deliver this year dahil ilang araw na lang, at least ma-deliver next year, no? Yan yung unang mahalaga this year in terms of year end. Ikalawa ay yung politika. Dahil nagsimula yung taon na meron pang unity team. Natapos yung taon, parang hindi lang nawala yung unity ng unity team. Nagsimula na yung civil war. Nagsimula na yung open warfare with the criticism of Vice President Sara Duterte dun sa peace talks ni President Bongbong with the communists, with the NPA. No? So yun yung ikalawa na mahalagang pangyayari this year. Di ba? Yan. Tapos ikatlo ay na mahalaga, yung scaling up ng China ng kanilang aggressive track. No, halimbawa, yung nakita natin doon sa Christmas convoy ng atin ito, yung first civilian supply, hindi naman supply mission, gift-giving mission. No? Ang nakaharap nila ay hindi militia. Ang nakaharap nila ay hindi lang Coast Guard. Ang nakaharap nila two PLA, People's Liberation Army battleships, warships, no? Yan ay talagang malinaw na scaling up at hindi yan ayungin, no? Yan ay nasa border ng ating territorial waters at ng ating EEZ, no? Ganun kagrabe, no, yung presence ng China. Napakalapit na niyan sa ating territorial sea at yung pagbobomba ng mga Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources supply attempt para supplyan yung ating mangingisda. Mangingisda, hindi yung BRP Sierra Madre, no? Mangingisda, bibigyan nila ng gasolina para mangisda at kaunting pagkain, winater cannon sa Scarborough, no? Kanya na BIFAR yan, hindi yan Coast Guard, hindi yan supply vessels, no? BIFAR yan, no? Kaya yung ganyan scaling up is also very significant. Kung maghahanap tayo ng mga three significant aspect this year, yung mga commitments, no, sa economy, MOU na umaabot na ng 90 billion, na wala pa rin pumapasok significantly. Yung politics, nagsimula ka sa taon na may unity, yung unity team. Ngayon, civil war, open warfare. At ikatlo, yung aggression ng China. Hindi na lang laser, hindi na lang water cannon, hindi na lang ramming, hindi na lang barriers, no? Ano yung susunod? Ano yung susunod? Nanakot pa si Wang Yi, di ba? Yung latest statement ni Wang Yi is not so veiled threat, no? Nasaan nyo ba gustong dalhin itong West Philippine Sea assertion ng Philippine government, no? Medyo chilling chilling yung warning ni Wang Yi kung narinig mo, Richard, which I'm sure narinig mo, no?
I quoted him in a number of articles already.
Okay.
No, I mean, the thing is this, no, Ronald. Everything you mentioned, things are gonna come into sharp focus because early this year, i-reveal ko na, BBM is gonna go to Vietnam. So that's gonna be his first major foreign visit. So he's gonna still go to an Asian country, but Vietnam is a very interesting case, right? Because
Yes.
not only is the only country that can potentially be our real partner within ASEAN. Of course, I've expressed my concerns with ASEAN. I called ASEAN 10 as just north of useless on West Philippine Sea, but I always believed in ASEAN, intra-ASEAN, multilateral cooperation, and I think Vietnam is big. But speaking of pledges, making sure they become real investments, I think Vietnam is the best country for BBM to get advice from. I think the Vietnamese can tell BBM, sir, hindi pwede yung travel ka lang. You have to create the investment conditions and you have to play the diplomacy very smartly if you're going to get investments. And, Vietnam is getting investments from China because of geography, because of party-party relations, because, it's good just to invest in Vietnam. But Vietnam has not also, taken a soft stance dun sa kanilang disputes. They're still very tough. So they're getting the best of both worlds. They're drawing the line dun sa kanilang national interest, core interest. At the same time, they're getting the best possible investment from both West, East, whatever, global South, no matter how you want to put it. So I think that will set the tone for our next episode when we're going to discuss what are the, let's say, 3 or 4 or 5 big political news and events for you last year. And what are the 2 or 3 big things you're looking forward to in 2024? Salamat, Sir Ronald Llamas, former presidential advisor of the President Benigno Aquino, and of course, the future podcaster ng Bayan. Ayan, crush ng Bayan, si Sir Ronald Llamas. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Thank you, Big R. At least hindi ako ex-human rights lawyer.
Ayan, ikaw ay future human rights activist. The rate, lalo pag tapos na yung ICC investigation, I'm sure, andyan ka na naman. Dalawa tayo mako-quote ng international. Thank you so much. God bless and talk to you soon.